Hey everyone, welcome back to Today in Tech. I'm Julia Beauchamp and I'm here with Macworld Executive Editor Michael Simon, as well as Computer World Executive Editor Ken Mingus. We are live on LinkedIn and on YouTube, so if you have any questions or comments while we're discussing and you want us to respond to you, please do leave them in the comments or the live chat if you're watching on YouTube, and we'll do our best to get back to you. So the topics of the day. First off, Apple has been arguing against side-loading apps onto the iPhone. And speaking of the iPhone, there's been some iPhone 13 rumors. So we'll get to all of it, but I do want to start with side loading apps. So Ken, can you just give us an overview of what exactly it means and what the issue here is and why Apple says people should not do it and they do not want to allow people to do it?
Sure. Thanks, Juliet. Actually, Johnny Evans had a great piece on Computer World about this. I think it was yesterday. Apple had put out a white paper, I believe, talking about how bad side loading is. Side loading, I think the best way to understand it is it's the ability for iPhone, iPad users to be able to download and install apps that are not necessarily curated in the Apple App Store, which means, it sort of opens up both devices and the operating systems to a larger world of applications and maybe services, etc. Apple's argument is that you don't want to do that because it makes it sort of like the Wild West out there, and you might be downloading malware or apps that are invasive in terms of privacy and data collection. And so it's been arguing pretty vociferously that that's why you want to keep the Apple App Store up and running. It's interesting that this comes out because there's a concerted push in Congress right now in the U.S. to see if Apple is sort of functioning as a bit of a monopoly here, because it restricts and limits what apps can get into that app store. And again, the argument is security versus privacy versus openness. And so that's where the current debate is. And it is interesting because there is a real difference of opinion in Congress, because you do have advocates saying Apple should be forced to allow other developers and applications, et cetera, on its devices. And you've got others saying, no, that's the wrong way to go about it. So that's sort of my quick take on where things are and kind of why this is bubbled up. Michael, did I get any of that wrong, or does that jive with what you understand?
I mean, yeah, that's essentially it. I mean, it's an iOS Android difference. When Android launched, it needed to differentiate itself from iOS because it basically was a copy of what Apple did. And when Android was being developed, it was being developed extremely differently. And iOS came along, or iPhone OS came along, changed the game. And to Android's credit, to Google's credit, they immediately recognized, oh, this is what we need to do, and they did. But to make it different, to make it more appealing to other people, to OEMs, equipment manufacturers, they said it's an open system, meaning the code is open source, so anyone can use it, and the ability to install apps is also open. So yes, there's the Google Play Store, which operates almost the same way as iOS, where you search for stuff, you find stuff, you download stuff, it's verified, it's checked. Google constantly is removing apps that are not what they want. There's a team of people that check them and verify them and let them in, all that stuff. That's how Google wants you to use your Android phone now. And they have gone through great lengths to stop people from sideloading. Mm-hmm. They haven't taken it away because they can't, because there would be a massive revolt amongst Android users. But they, if you try to download anything that isn't from the Play Store, you get pop-ups that say, hey, this is bad. You have to go into settings and enable it. It's no longer the Wild West on Android, but it still has that reputation. If Google had its way, believe me, in Android 12, it would be gone. But they can't do that. Apple started the opposite way and said, we're not allowing any apps to be installed that isn't from iOS. And the reason being is malware. Now, malware on Android isn't nearly the problem that Apple people think it is. Yes, there are more apps that cause harm to your Android device than there are to your iOS device. But if you stick to the Play Store, which most people do, you're fine. You're going to be fine. There's all sorts of protections in place, just like iOS, to make sure that the things that you download are not going to harm your phone. yeah, things get through on iOS too, but for the
I
most
was
part,
just going to say they
99
get through
and
on Apple as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
99 point whatever percent of apps that are in the, or that are in the individual stores are safe.
Yeah.
But there are people, mostly Android enthusiasts and people in other countries who don't have access to the Play Store, that download from these third-party stores. And they're, in places like China, they're vibrant, they're robust, and there's a lot less policing of those apps. So yeah, again, a lot of them are fine. A lot of the things that you download to your Android phone, even that are, it's not going to mess up your machine, but it might not work right. It might not be the best way to use that app on your phone. It might be taking information and sharing it with other things, because you don't know, because you're not getting those checks. And I think Apple is absolutely right here to say, hey, we don't allow it, but they do. So what are you coming at us for? If you want to sideload apps, there are like 100 phones to choose from. Go grab one of those. I don't really understand the argument. First of all, the bill that's going to Congress is ridiculous. And if it gets passed, Apple should just say, you know what, we are not doing business in this country anymore. We're taking our $2 trillion operation and we're going overseas, and you can deal with that, because it is absurd that people that don't understand technology are writing laws that would fundamentally not just change, but break everything that Apple has built.
Yeah.
The bill, if you take it by the letter of the law, and it's going to change because, but it basically says that Apple can't pre-install messages on its phone. It's nuts. Google pre-installs apps, Samsung's pre-installs apps. Like, you need to be able to hand someone a working product and then give them the opportunity to download what they want. Yes, I'll agree. There are some things about the iPhone that are frustratingly closed, but it's your choice to use that system. There's Google Messages, there's Apple iMessage. Choose.
Yeah.
There's not a problem here. Apple's not leveraging its monopoly. It's offering people a system that most people want. If they took that away, people would say, well, where's Messages? Like, I want Messages. I want iMessage. That's what I use. That's because it's good. I don't understand that argument. I understand a lot of the things that have the regulatory stuff and Apple being a gatekeeper, particularly the developer stuff. All that stuff I get. I'm on board with all that. And I think Apple needs to change some of their terms. This one is nuts. I don't understand why you would force Apple to be able to sideload apps. First of all, there are millions of apps in the App Store. It's not like there's not enough of them.
Yeah.
So what is this 1 or 2 or 7 or 100 apps that are outside the App Store that we need to have? Why are they outside? Probably because they shouldn't be there in the first place.
One quick question, Michael. Do you know, is it possible to jailbreak an iPhone still, or has Apple clamped down on that so hard that
I'm not 100% sure. I know it's possible. It used to be a
older
fairly
devices.
robust marketplace.
Yeah.
That's changed. A lot of it is because what jailbreakers were doing, Apple now has.
Yeah.
In a lot of instances. Apple has, to its credit, opened up iOS in major ways. We can install keyboards now. We can have default mail. We can have default maps, right? Maps, one of them.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's maps, but they allow you to choose defaults for certain apps. They allow you to delete apps. We could never do that in the past. that happened a couple of years ago. There are ways that you can customize iOS in fun and in useful ways. And I don't understand that particular argument about iOS. It doesn't feel like I'm using it in a little room that I can't
Not
get out
anymore.
of.
It did
For a while. It did for a while. I remember like the Compass app. People used to make folders like iOS apps that I hate. And you would put all the apps in there and throw them on like page 3 because you couldn't get rid of them. Now you can.
Right.
You can delete most apps. You can change. Yeah. Messages. You're pretty much stuck using iMessage, but it's also the best. I've used Android. I've used Samsung Messages. I've used OnePlus Messages. Apple's is better. If given the choice, 99.5% of iPhone users aren't going to change.
Yeah. I think
so. What's the problem?
I think the larger issue here, Juliet, and we can probably leave it at this, but is watching what happens in Congress. I mean, Michael makes a very good point that there are a lot of decision makers in Congress and even in the executive branch who do not understand technology.
Right.
They don't get it at all. It's not that this is like, trying to get your grandma to write a bill
It's
that
crazy.
regulates
Crazy.
technology. No offense to grandma, love grandma, but I'm not sure she should be writing technical language around
In
legislation.
some cases, it's literally grandma.
I know. Well, I mean, I'm thinking of, just to pick one, Chuck Grassley, who I think is like 88 or 89.
There's a bunch of
Again,
them, yeah.
nothing wrong with being 88 or
No,
89.
of course not. It's
He
fine.
does not
I
understand
mean,
technology.
that's a whole nother conversation about.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
I know. So we'll watch this.
It's not necessarily an
We'll-
age thing. It's an understanding thing.
It's an
And if you
understanding.
don't
It's like-
understand it, seek out the information so you do. So when you write the bill, you don't look like a fool.
It's like when that senator from Alaska described the internet as a series of tubes.
Yeah,
That's kind of,
sure.
these are not the people you want writing this kind of legislation. I don't think it's going to get through Congress.
Of course
I don't
not.
think
Of
Apple's
course
gonna
not. And if
decide
it was to, it'll be far different than it is now.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
the fact that it was even introduced in this form is nuts. It's crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
somewhere Apple's lawyers are saying, "What? What is this? Like, what are we supposed to do with this?
Not just
How do you
Apple's
argue
either.
that
Oh, wait.
they're being asked to argue a system that's been in place for 10 years,
Yeah.
and Congress is saying, well, we don't. I don't even understand. Again, none of it makes sense to me. None of it. So the bottom line is, if you want to sideload apps, if you have an overwhelming desire to sideload apps, there are plenty of phones to choose from, plenty,
Yeah,
and they're good.
Don't get an iPhone.
They're good phones. The Galaxy S21 is a great phone. Go get it.
Yeah.
If you want a secure and private system, get an iPhone, and that's how Apple set it up. There's nothing. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Speaking of
Sure.
really good phones, tell me what we know about the iPhone 13. In fact, I'm even seeing rumors bubble up about
the 14.
iPhone 14,
Yeah.
which to me sounds like the one to get. But anyway,
you know,
let's-
it's literally every year.
it's every
The
what?
next one is the one to get every year. This has been going
Right.
on.
That's why I've been waiting, because I'm like,
Yeah.
well, the next
It's always next year. The iPhone 13 doesn't look like a huge visual upgrade. It's going to be
Sure.
the same sizes: 5.4 mini, 6.1 Pro, and 13 the Pro and the non-Pro, and then a 6.7 inch Max.
Yeah.
Those are the rumors. Even though there's also rumors that say the iPhone 12 mini isn't selling quite as well as Apple thought it would. But these things, people don't realize that, like, Apple's not going to change its mind in June or April
Oh, those
or
things are already
January.
being made, right?
Yes.
They're already being
Yeah.
put together. Yeah.
They're shored up already. By the time the 13 comes out, the 14 is nearly done. Like they the scale at which they have to make these things, they can't pivot that quickly.
Yeah.
Right.
So if the iPhone 12 mini didn't sell and they realized that by, say, February, oh well, nothing we can do about that. Maybe they'll make less of them. Maybe they'll switch production from the 12 mini to the 12 and see how it was selling this time. They can do all of that stuff. In fact, there was a rumor that they stopped production of the 12 mini now, which is, that's entirely believable. If it's not selling as well and they have a 5-week backlog of them, sure,
Yeah.
that makes sense. But they're not going to just say, well, we're not going to do this. And we just, they planned it out and they'll do what they do. So visually similar.
Yeah.
Flat edges, same size, same bezels and all that stuff. The notch is the big change. Like, it's not going to be gone, but it's going to be smaller. It's going to be
Mhm.
skinnier, and it's going to be narrower.
Yeah.
So you'll get more status icons on either side of it. It's fine. I don't have a problem with the notch. It's fine with it's fine. I'm sure a smaller one will be fine too. Like, that's okay.
The notch would never be a selling point for me, even if it went away.
Yeah, it's not.
like-
It doesn't really affect me. It's there or it isn't. Like, it's fine. I don't mind it as a visual characteristic because it's an iPhone, and like, even the silhouette when you see it somewhere, like, rather than a circle or nothing.
Right.
But at some point it'll go away. That's not happening this year. And
Well, I
on the
think that's
back,
interesting.
they're saying maybe a slightly bigger camera array, slightly a tweak to the way the cameras are like laid out. So there'll still be 2 on the non-pros and 3 on the pros, but instead of being next to each other, they'll be vertical. Whatever. Okay. I mean, I don't care. And possibly it'll be a little bit thicker. The camera bump will be a little bit thicker on the Max. So
I do
visually,
wonder if at some point
very
these things are
similar.
going to be just basically a lens with a phone attached to it.
Yeah,
Because
seriously.
I mean, I mean that's basically what they are now. It's just that the
There's
lens.
I forget the company. I think it was Leica. Leica, I think Leica's making a phone, and it has like a 2-inch camera sensor or something. Like it's just like the whole back is just like a big giant camera. Yeah, that's what people
Aren't
want.
they-
They're just.
Isn't Apple also moving the image stabilization down the ranks? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, what's that shift, focus, stable sensor shift stabilization
Right.
is coming to all 4
right.
models. So there's that, good. The main things will be smaller internal changes, bigger battery,
How about the
obviously a
display?
faster
Are we
chip.
getting ProMotion at least on the Pro models? Do we
Maybe
know?
that's
Okay.
that's the prevailing rumor, 120 hertz, which would be ProMotion, Apple's branded ProMotion that's on the iPad for many years now.
Okay.
That would come to the Pro models. I mean, again, that's another thing where it'll be nice to check off that box, but they're so good. Like Apple's phones and the speed and the optimization are so good. I don't even know if it's going to be that noticeable. Like when I pick up the Samsung S20, whatever it is, S21, you can flip back and forth between 120 and 60, and it's noticeable, very noticeable.
Okay.
I don't know if it'll be as noticeable on the iPhone 13. Maybe.
We've got 2 questions about the iPhone 13 from LinkedIn. One, I think already answered. Is it true that the notch will be smaller? Yes.
I mean, true in the sense that that's what people are saying.
That's
I
the
think
assumption.
Sure.
there's a lot of evidence to suggest it'll be both thinner and narrower. So you're going to get more vertical space and more horizontal space.
Sure. And then the next question, and I feel like this is something that I swear we have talked about for like 2 straight years, which is it true that the iPhone 13 will have an on-screen fingerprint sensor? I feel like every time that there is a new iPhone, this is swirling.
That's
I
not
think
true. There are, so the rumor this morning was that the iPhone 14 will have an in-display fingerprint sensor.
14. Okay.
We've heard that rumor numerous times. Not that it was coming in, like it's always the next year's model that it's coming in. They've said that before. I've used plenty of in-display fingerprint sensors on Android phones, and they're always not great. They're not terrible. They're not great. Face ID is the thing. That's the high watermark.
What's the advantage of the?
I don't know.
What's the advantage of the Touch ID in the screen if you've got Face ID already?
I
Other
don't
than
have that
if
answer.
we're all wearing masks again someday, I get that, but it's not inherently better, is it? The technology?
I don't think so. The only thing I can say is that you can unlock your phone when you're not looking directly at it, but I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't understand. Apple has never done that. They've never had 2 different biometric authentication systems. It's either Touch ID or Face ID. I've used phones that have both, and I mean, you first of all, you usually have to choose which one you want. And secondly, like Samsung, for example, used to have, I think, 5 different ones, and they've scaled back because, if you use one, like it all has to work. And like the system has to know which one you're using. And I don't know, unless Apple has developed a system that they work together and you can press it or look at it and it's as quick and there's no delay between the two. Face ID is great.
Yeah.
I mean, Touch ID is great too, but separately.
So that would be the iPhone 14.
That's what they're saying, the 14.
If ever. But I also saw something, and I think you guys had this on Macworld, that like the camera might be a 48 megapixel camera.
That's
on
the 14 also, yeah.
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 I want that.
That's
I want.
Honestly, yeah, sure. We all want that. I don't know if it's going to matter so much. Apple, much like the Google Pixel phones, they do so much with 12 megapixels.
Yeah.
That I don't even know if it'll really, I mean, it'll be a little crisper, a little, you'll be able to blow them up to bigger sizes.
Low light, less grain.
Right. So Samsung has 108 megapixels on their phones, and the Pixel still takes better pictures of 12 megapixels. I mean, it's a lot of it. We've reached a point where the hardware isn't all that important. It's all that post-processing stuff that really matters, and Apple just kills it in that department. So does Google. So yeah, 48 megapixels will be nice. I wouldn't mind a better zoom. That's what I want
The
on my
periscope, right?
iPhone.
The periscope lens.
Yeah, that's what they call it. Where it's literally like an L inside the phone. Like
Yeah.
Samsung goes up to 100x, which is crazy and terrible. But at 30x, it's very good.
Yeah.
The iPhone doesn't even go past 5.
Right.
Like you can't get it to go to zoom that much. And if I'm going to pick a camera upgrade that I want, that's the one that I would use
Yeah.
more so than a 48 megapixel.
Well, I'm kind of assuming both. I mean,
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
reason I
we've
say
heard
that-
rumors that they're working on the periscope stuff.
Yeah, I know that the absolute count of pixels is less important, but the reason I think, if a 48 megapixel camera were coming with the iPhone 14, I would assume that Apple has worked on the software and can actually use whatever that camera is capturing it, post-process it, and turn out something amazing.
I mean, maybe, but do we care? Is my question. Like that deep fusion stuff,
I
does it
like,
matter?
I like my megapixel pictures.
Do you?
And throw in a periscope lens. I want my pictures of the strawberry moon this week to look fabulous, and that's the only way to do it. I think.
I mean, there's all right. I'm with you. If you're printing out gallery style images for your office,
As it happens, no, I'm not. I'm not doing that this week, but I'd like the option to do so if I wanted to.
But yeah, I mean, we all want bigger and better in camera, and that's the upgrade that
Mhm.
Apple consistently. It's not just everybody. That's the one that people want.
All right.
Yeah, better camera.
We have a few more questions from LinkedIn. And just a reminder, if anyone has any questions or comments, please do leave them. And worst case scenario, I'll get back to you after the fact over on YouTube. So one question is a really good question about ports. Like, will the iPhone
Yeah.
13 have a charging port?
Yeah, all accounts it'll be Lightning still. Like I don't
Okay.
think they're moving to USB-C on the iPhone. There's always
Just
that prevailing
exclusively
rumor
wireless.
that it'll
We're
be
all
wireless.
wireless.
We're not
Yeah.
quite there yet. MagSafe is a step in that direction. Wireless charging obviously is a step in that direction, but we're not quite there yet. Apple, they took away the headphone jack and people freaked out. Imagine they took away the Lightning port. I mean, we're not
Yeah.
quite there yet.
Like, to me, it's like, how am I charging my phone in my car? If
Right.
'cause
But
I
there's
don't
a
have,
lot
I
of
don't have a fancy
questions.
car with the
Yeah.
wireless charging mat. Another question is cost. And this I think is probably a question, especially for you, Mike. What is the cost going to be higher? What's-
We haven't heard that. My guess is that it might be lower in the sense that the cost of the iPhone 12 isn't quite what Apple tells you. So if they're charging, if they say it's $699, it's really $729 for some weird reason. With the last one, if you buy it unlocked, it's $729. If you buy it through a carrier with a carrier plan, it's $699, and then that's for the two non-pro. The pro models are actually what they say. So my guess is that if we do see a price change, they'll just be $699 across the board. But I don't
Mhm.
think it's going to go anywhere above that. They've kept those price points kinda for a couple of years now, and I think that's what people expect, and I think that's what they'll deliver, especially if there's not like a huge upgrade. To charge people more for essentially the same phone would be, I think,
Yeah.
not a great idea.
Isn't it
Sure.
also? Didn't I also see one of the rumors for the 13 is that storage will continue to be maxed out at 512?
That's what I say. We have both of those rumors. Some say 1 gig, some say 512. Neither is necessary. 128 is fine.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need that much storage. And what are
Not
you
with
putting on
cloud,
your
yeah.
phone? What
Not
do
with
you,
cloud.
what's
shooting
there?
raw images.
Yeah. How many
or-
videos are you taking? I mean,
And how many 8K or
at that
whatever-
point, just
whatever
get
the
like
iPhone can
a
do.
2
I need
terabyte
my
iCloud
8K
account.
moonshots. It's like every night.
And then another question, I don't know if this would have come out in the rumors, is colors. Is any new colors? I will say, when the iPhone 12 in purple was announced at one of the spring events,
Yeah.
that I was like, oof, I might need that, but I'm holding off, and I will go on the record as saying I will be upgrading my iPhone whenever this one comes out because I'm overdue.
Good.
So color.
We heard rumors of, I think, pink would be
Oh
the
my
color
God.
this year.
That's the one that I want then.
Apple always with
still
with
like my blue.
the 11 or the
I like
12
my
or the
blue.
13, whatever, that line is always a bit more colorful than the Pro line.
Right.
but they always have a new something. This year it was that blue, that Pacific blue. Last year it was that midnight green. They'll have something that's cool that people will want. Doesn't matter. You're going to put a case on it anyway. Who cares?
Now I hope it's pink. Well, my phone case, as you can see, is clear
Ah.
with stuff on it. So I want the best of both worlds. So those were all of the
Wasn't
viewer
there
questions.
something about a new matte black though? I thought I had seen
Maybe I
for
don't
the 13
remember.
You know, but
How
they
many
changed that
times are we going to do
space
black?
gray, matte black color every other year.
Yeah,
It's a
well, they
different version.
went from the space gray always tweaks its hue. Now it's charcoal. You know, but it's always in that family, like super dark
Yeah.
gray, but not quite black. The high watermark for the iPhone color was the jet black iPhone 7.
Was that the
in my
slippery
mind.
one? The one that was just like glossy?
And it also got tons of
Beautiful
scratches.
until you touched it.
Right. It was right. It scratched easily and it was fingerprinty.
second you touched
But
it-
if you looked at it in the Apple store, it was awesome.
So I think just wrapping up here. So it seems like and please do correct me if I'm wrong here, not totally different from the 12 line, but you know, better camera, smaller notch.
It's an S phone. And it might actually be called the 12S. There are rumors that
Gotcha.
Apple might skip over 13 because of the unluckiness of it.
Yeah.
So it might be a 12S, and then next year we'll get the 14.
Sure.
I think
Based
they
on
should
what
just
I'm
do
hearing,
away
I'm
with
going to hold
numbers.
off. I think.
Oh, sure, you will. Oh, okay.
Uh-huh.
Anybody want to take? I'm giving 101 odds against that.
Improvement, you know. The cameras
Anybody
are
wants to
different.
take it?
Yeah, well, we'll revisit this later in the year.
Yeah.
201. It just went up.
Last question from the audience and also just from me, good for everyone. What's the timeline? When do you think is there going to be an announcement?
There's still
Traditionally.
Yeah, well, traditionally it's September, but right now there's issues with production things.
Right.
There's rumors that Apple has so much clout with TSMC, who makes their chips, that they can just kind of jump to the front of the line, which I believe. But even that might not matter. There's a lot of production issues. Like iPads are still like 4 weeks out, and that's the M1 chip. We didn't get the MacBook Pros yet, and all accounts are that's because Apple can't make them. There's severe issues with production all around the tech world. Also, shipping is a problem. Since the pandemic and people's buying habits kind of created this perfect storm of backlogs everywhere. So I don't know. There was a rumor yesterday that said that it's going to be the third week of September, which I do believe that's when Apple would like to do it, because it's probably going to still be virtual. Maybe not, but I think we'll have one more round of virtual events this fall. Apple they have some flexibility there. So if you remember last year, they split up the Apple Watch and the iPhone event. Apple Watch was in September because they don't have to sell as many of those.
Mm-hmm.
And the iPhone was in October, which gave them an extra 4 weeks to kind of build that stock. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that again. I also wouldn't be surprised if it was in September, because they're the biggest company in the world. So they can basically say, hey, we don't make anybody else's anything until you're done with ours. So, they have a lot of clout. They have a lot of influence over these companies. These companies are basically, if Apple changes their supplier, they're done.
Yeah.
So we'll see. September or October.
I'm going to put my money on late September and the traditional rollout, and I'm going to put my money on, the usual 2 weeks before you can order. But I think supplies are going to be so constrained.
They always are.
Most people realistically won't get their phones until well into October, November.
Yeah. Whether I'm buying one or not, I always wake up to check out the ordering, and it goes from, delivers September 27th to delivers October 19th in like an hour.
Not even.
maybe that'll happen even quicker.
It's more like 15 minutes.
Yeah, depending on the phone. Yeah, depending.
If you're there like I am, refreshing, desperately trying to get that phone in the cart.
400 to 1 odds that Ken doesn't buy a phone.
That Ken sounds like me about 2 hours ago trying to get Lord tickets, and by the way, I failed. So
no. On that note, sad story for another day. But great.
Thank you guys. And just a little bit of self promotion here. I linked it over in the YouTube channel. I did recently have an interview with the head of the IDC Semiconductor Group about the chip shortage. So if anyone's interested, that's linked in the live chat on YouTube. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. Good chat. And I'm on the record. Pink iPhone 13. I'll definitely be getting that.
Okay, I'm gonna hold you to it.
500 to 1 odds. Next week they go up to 1,000.
Thank you all so much for watching this episode of Today in Tech. If you liked this video, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you are watching over on LinkedIn, you can head over to our YouTube channel, IDG Tech Talk, and you can like the video over there, subscribe to our channel, and you can hit the bell icon so you're notified every single time we post a new video. If you have any questions or comments because you're watching this after the fact or we just didn't get to them, leave them in the comments, especially on the YouTube video. I'll definitely get back to you there. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.